So you wanted to learn how to create feeders. Well, we'll show you here. I've already removed the joiner from there. I'll remove it from the other end. Now this is, I'm going to solder feeders to these guys. And the difficult part is if you look underneath here, you'll see there's a bridge there and there. The wire has to be soldered. The first thing to do is remove this from the plastic, and in order to do that, there we go. Now if you look closely here,
you're listening to Stingray Music.
you see that there's a little piece sticking out there, and in this case I've bent it back in. You need to bend that back out for reinsertion later. So what it should look like once it's out and rebent is like that, with these little ears coming off there, because that's going to push down through here and just catch on the bottom there. There's a little lip in there. So let's do that with the other one here. So I push that in like that, and that comes out much better. But you can see, well, maybe, I don't know. Those guys are hardly spread out at all. So you need to take a pair of tweezers or something to spread them out a bit more like that. So those are now spread out. Now what you're going to do is we're going to solder just in here. See if it works on these. Yes, it does. So these are, I just put like, how much is that? Eighth of an inch. Put an eighth of an inch. This is of wire in there, and I press really firmly, and what that does is it just flattens the end a little. Then I get my, these are the pliers I like to use, and I bend this at 90. Then I do the same with the red one. And this is the piece that's going to go on here. Like that. But before it can, this has to be tinned. So a little bit of flux. I'm turning on my iron in the background here. That's all you want, no more than that. And then holding this carefully. Oops. Remelt the solder. Introduce your piece. Hold it. And then, just to make sure it's firm. Yeah, a little more solder on there than I need. You do want to clean this, so I like to use my toothbrush and some 90% alcohol. There we go. Wipe it clean with a paper towel. Now we reinsert these simply by pushing it down through, and as it gets into this spot, push it in, and there you have it. And then that just goes into the track like. That. And then that goes under through the hole underneath the layout. So for the other one, again, now that that's soldered, you just push it through the top, align it, push down on the two ends so it seats. I don't know if you can see underneath, but it's up in there. And now on the other end, so if you bend these over like this, you can see they're lower than the bottom of your track. I'll just push it down a little more with these. And now you can run these to wherever you want to drop them in. Now the second way of doing this is, first of all, let me cut some more wire. I'll just go with the usual. We're going to solder to these little points in here. So to do that, again, we'll strip a little bit of wire. Again, you're using solid core wire. I don't bother in this case flattening. What I do is I'll take a pair of pliers and bend a piece that appears to be about 1/8 of an inch. So if you look at that, this piece is going to go down and lay flat in there. So I want a flat piece there, and then I want to make another bend like that. So I have this kind of Z bend going on. So this I can then solder in like that. So let's do the same with the black one. Yeah, normally what I do is I just take my flux like this and go boink, boink, and they're fluxed. And then we tin this. Basically want a nice little blob of solder right there. Okay, those are tinned. Now this is really important. You do need to tin these guys. And to do that, you're going to have to get in here with a little bit of flux. Okay, it's got the flux in there. Now, this is where it's important to have a skinny tip on your soldering iron. I actually like to use a little bit thicker solder in here. So you're going to, in my case, melt the solder, touch it to the rail. You're going to wait long enough till you see the solder is flowing onto the rail. Then, all you do here is grab your wire. This is also where it's important to make sure that you're soldering to the correct spot, because you can't easily change it afterwards. So what I tend to do is hold that, the base of my hand's holding the track. Now I'm melting the solder and dipping the wire into it. Wait. That's nice and firm, doing the pull test. Now go to the other one. Similarly, I find it works best if I get in there and melt that solder first, then dip the wire into it. Okay, and then again as before, get the toothbrush and alcohol out and clean that. You may want to clean on the other side as well. And then in with the paper towel. Clean everything off. Now if you look real close in here, you'll notice I have solder here. And I left it on just a little bit too long. You do not want solder on the inside. So I used too much solder. So that needs to be filed down. So, either way works. Now, either one, you bring it back to a hole like back about here or so. You don't want it to interfere there, so you make a hole about there. And then it goes under your table and runs, and of course these guys in our club case plug into the Wagos. Once you remove the insulation from them. Yeah. So that's how that guy works.